Okay, my people, welcome to FBA All Day, the show all about justice and understanding for our people. I am the Lord Eric Steele, aka Big Rusty Love, perpetual student of the Survival Scrolls, where if you know, you know. Today we've been sent so many emails and requests to go in on this particular instance. There is a video circulating about an incident that happened to one of our brothers down there in Jacksonville. And I want to dive into this both legally and I'm going to use our own common sense as adults to decipher and take this video apart. Okay? Today is actually a Skinfolk Spotlight episode, and we are shining the spotlight on Sheriff T.K. Waters. This guy, what can I say? When we say skin folk, we're referring to people with our skin tone. They look like us, but they don't have the best interests of our people at heart. Their goals and objectives do not align with justice for our people. Okay? I always say this, a black face in a powerful place does not necessarily help us at all. And this guy is a prime example of that. This guy is the sheriff of Jacksonville, which is a very historical place for our people, especially my people in particular. Jacksonville, Florida is a very special place for our people. And for him to be a sheriff there with his mindset, it's nothing else I can say. It's just a disgrace, okay? He should not be sheriff. And I'm going to go into this and break it down for you. And this is not even hard to be actual. The incident that happened in February with Mr. McNeil being pulled over, it's painful to see how this could have been easily resolved. It's painful to see how it was escalated by these people. It's painful to see people with our skin tone participating in this wrong and this injustice. It's painful for people of authority, like a sheriff, to have the ability to review these videos and the account of the actual stop. And for him to still come up with the conclusion that he comes up with is painful, because a second grader can tell you that these guys are in the wrong. My grandson is only 6. He could tell you that what those cops did was wrong. It doesn't even take a sheriff to tell you that. Anybody can see that. The video starts out from where the media likes to start. They like to start the video at the point where the cops are breaking the guy's window, Mr. McNeil's window, and they're reaching in, they're assaulting him, all that. But the video starts, the full video has more context than that. The video starts out when the cops pull this guy over, and he asks them, he inquires to the cop. First of all, before he even asks them, he opens the door. He opens the door to his car, and he lets the deputy come into his car know, my driver's side window doesn't go down. He told them that at the beginning of the stop. He said, my driver's side window doesn't go down, when they asked him why he was opening the door. Okay, fine. So we know his door doesn't go down. That's why if you see some pictures of the video, he has the door open and he's talking to the sheriff there, the deputy there, because his window doesn't go down. That's the first thing. Okay, now, when he asked the officer, what did I do wrong? The officer says, well, there's many reasons. The main reason is because you're driving with your lights off in inclement weather. Okay, inclement weather. Inclement means it's a synonym for bad weather. That means it's bad weather. Now, remember, deputies, as far as sheriffs and all these guys, these are law enforcement. They're supposed to be enforcing the law. Now, Mr. McNeil instantly tells him that that's not right, and he wants to speak to a supervisor because that's incorrect. That is wrong. And as we review this, you're going to see he's right. That is right. That's not the law. That law doesn't say that. Okay? So I'm going to take it from there. We'll start there. That way we'll break it down bit by bit. Okay? We'll break it down bit by bit, and then you could see that these people were so in the wrong, it's ridiculous. First of all, according to the Florida State Statute for Motor Vehicles, Chapter 316, Section 217, it addresses when headlights should be used. Okay? Now, there's Section 1A and B. A refers to driving in the twilight or in the night between sunset and dawn. That's considered the night, and you obviously have to have your headlights on for that. Okay, that's obvious. This was not the nighttime. Okay, so that's A. 1A. 1B says, specifically, I'm reading you exactly what it says from the state statute. It says, B, during rain, smoke, or fog. That's it. That's all it says. It doesn't say 5 minutes after it's raining, up to 20 minutes before it's raining, up to 20 minutes after it's raining, or 5 minutes before it's raining to 5 minutes. It doesn't say all that. It doesn't say that at all. You know what else it doesn't say? It doesn't mention the word incremental or increment weather at all. That's nowhere in this whole statute about driving with your headlights. It doesn't mention that word at all. It doesn't say during increment weather. It doesn't say before increment weather. It doesn't mention increment at all. It just says during, which means simultaneously you have to have your headlights on while it's raining. That's what during rain, smoke, or fog. That's all it says. So already the cop is in the wrong. He's lying. He starts the whole thing off lying. That's not the law. If that was his reason for the stop, then the stop is what we call illegal, because that's not the law. You got it? And the other stuff that he stated afterwards, oh, you're driving without your seatbelt, he couldn't tell. When they played a recording of him in his car, he couldn't even tell what the nationality or the description of the person in the car was. He couldn't see. He said it in his car. He said, I don't know about the occupants. I don't know. So if he couldn't see into the car, he definitely couldn't tell if that boy had a seatbelt on or not. That's another lie. Okay? So he's just fishing. He's trying to find some reason to verify, to dignify, or to get to verify why he pulled this guy over. And it's all nonsense. And I know that by pulling up the Florida state statutes. I know that by looking at the law, not by putting my feelings in it. Not by going, oh, he's a white guy, this is a black guy. I didn't do any of that. As soon as I heard him say the reason for the pullover, I pulled you over because of headlights off during inclement weather. Already, I just go and I look, give me that statute when you're supposed to have your headlights on, and you can see that what he's saying is false. That's a lie. That's a blatant lie. And I know you have all kind of peoples online, all kind of little cops, Officer McNeely and all those. They're just lying to you. They're trying to throw up a smoke screen. He'll mention in his video inclement weather. That's not a part of the statute. Florida state statute says nothing about driving in incremental weather. It doesn't at all. The only part about driving with your headlights on that says anything to do with weather is Chapter 316, Section 217, 1B. And it says during rain, smoke, or fog. It don't say nothing about after it rains or 10 minutes after the rain. And I know he's saying, oh, well, that's being very vague. It's the spirit of the law. That's the spirit of a lie. Okay? Because the Supreme Court has already said if these legislatures had wanted that to be in the law, they would have put it in there specifically. The people who write these laws are lawyers, a lot of them. They know how to speak. They didn't say 10 minutes after or 10 minutes before because that's not required. That's nonsense. Okay? So let's get that part down first. That is a lie. So they're already starting this thing off wrong. So as the other officer got back to his car, he called for backup because the dude closed his door and locked it because this guy was about to do something and he felt he was in danger. So he closed his door and locked it, because he knew that this guy was already starting off on a bad foot. He started the whole traffic stop off on the wrong foot under the premise of a lie. That's not what the law says. And when this guy called for backup, watch this. The cop car that pulled up, he didn't have his headlights on. The first responding officer that arrives on the scene didn't have his headlights on. That's one. Okay, that's one option. When this guy gets there and he rolls down the passenger window because his driver's side window doesn't work. He rolled down the passenger window and he was conversing with that officer. Hey, this guy said he's going to pull me over because I didn't have my headlights on in the rain. It's not raining. He said that in the video. It's not raining. There's no reason for. And that officer, the second officer, showed up. He lies. Well, that doesn't matter. Yes, it does. If it's not raining, you're not supposed, it doesn't matter if you don't have your headlights on. So now we have 2 lying officers on the scene. Okay? Now I'm either telling you the facts or a lie. You read the video and you watch the video and you tell me. This is either the truth or a lie. The second guy pulls up and he's talking to him out the passenger's window. He explains to him, this guy said he pulled me over for my headlights in the rain, but it's not raining. And the second officer says, that doesn't matter. And at this point, he requests a supervisor. He says, I'd like to speak to a supervisor. When he says that, the first officer, who has called for backup, and now there's 4 officers on scene for a headlight infraction, which isn't even an infraction because it's a lie. He's not supposed to have his headlights on at this time because it's not raining. 4 of the officers come up, okay? Well, Eric, you're being very vague. There's water on the car. The car is wet. Obviously, it's not raining. The stop didn't happen during the rain. It could have rained beforehand. That's fine. But when he was pulled over, it wasn't raining. Okay, well, how do you know it wasn't raining? I'll answer that too. It only takes a person with common sense watching these videos that you can decipher these things. Lord Eric Steele, listen, if it was raining, I want you to watch all 4 of those cop cars on scene. 4 or 5 cop cars. None of them had their wipers on. Not only did most of them not have their headlights on, but nobody had their windshield wipers on. Not the car that pulled him over. In the video where he's still in his car, you don't see his wipers going. The cop car that pulled up on scene, the first car, no windshield wipers going. None of the corresponding cars in the video, nobody has their wipers on. Come on, man. Open and shut. Open and shut. A second grader could decipher this stuff. You don't even have to be Encyclopedia Brown. For the old heads. Check this out, though. Okay. So, and here's what we see on the video. Now, the first officer smashes the window, clears out an area. He smashes the window out, clears out an area. Let me see your hand. Old boy has his hands up. Sucker punches him. Bow. Hits him in the face. Boom. They're trying to get him out the car. Then they hit him again. That's 2 times he's been struck. 4 of them now. It takes 4 of these guys. Throw this guy to the ground. They're punching him. They smash. He's all beat up. He's missed. His tooth is chipped now. All kind of stuff has happened to this guy. Off of the premise of this officer not knowing the law. He doesn't know the law. He's an officer working in Jacksonville, but he does not know the law. That's a major problem. A major problem. That's the major problem number 1. As I keep telling you guys. Now, hold on. Let's get this understood. My father was a police. My daughter's police. I have police officers in my family. I know police work when I see it. This is not police work. This is lazy. This is something other. But as soon as that cop struck this kid, this became something else. I understand comply. I understand that. I understand, his window doesn't come down. And I'll even be as lenient as to say, okay, I can see them smashing his window. I'll give them that. But punching him in the face, striking him in the face, that's not police work. There's no part of the manual that says strike somebody who's not being combative. Again, his hands were up. He wasn't reaching for anything. His back was against the seat. He wasn't leaning forward, reaching for something. He wasn't leaning over, reaching for something. His hands are visible. There was no reason for that guy to strike him. Not the first time, and definitely not the second time where they were holding his hands behind his back. That is not police work. That is criminal. That's not police work. That's got nothing to do with police work. So you can't say, you just hate cops, because that's not police work. So you have these cops on scene. They have this guy illegally stopped, because what they stopped him for was not a law. That's illegal. Kidnapping. When they pulled him out the car, that's kidnapping. They pulled him out for that. That's kidnapping. They struck him. That's assault. That's assault and battery. When they had him on the ground, I saw at least 3 times I saw him get punched. And his tooth got chipped and all kind of stuff when they was mushing him on the ground. You could see the other cop had a handful of his hair. That's not police work, bro. The guy's on the ground. Why are you holding his head? Why do you have a handful of his hair? That's not police work, bro. I'm keeping it a buck with you. That's not police work. I can't imagine my father or my daughter would be doing that to a citizen. That's not police work. That's called police brutality. And these people should not be allowed to continue to be on the force. Why are they on the police force when, 1, they don't know the law, 2, they have no control of themselves? The perpetrator has more self-control than the officers. That is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay, so we can see how that played out, how that traffic stop transpired. We can see that. This is what brings Sheriff T.K. Waters into the spotlight, okay? Because this happened in February. There was plenty of time for Sheriff T.K. Waters to review that tape. He could have looked the law up himself. He could have looked that law up and specifically saw that what his officer cited is incorrect. He could have corrected the whole thing. He could have preemptively silenced this thing way back when, but he didn't do that. That's not what he did. What he did was he tried to cover up for those guys. Instead of right being right and wrong being wrong, he's going to throw a little cover. He's going to put out this little narrative where, oh, when you don't comply, we have to use force. That's incorrect. That's a lie. And if that was the way it was supposed to be, then how come it never happens that way on the other side? You never see white people treated like that. You don't see that. You don't see Asian people treated that way. You don't see Latino people treated that way. You don't see it. Show me the video of it. In order for somebody else to get that kind of treatment, they got to be cussing. They got to be drawing a gun. I've seen a guy on a traffic stop, a white guy on a traffic stop, get out, curse at the cop, threaten the cop, get back in the car safely and not get hit once. I've seen that. This guy didn't threaten anybody. He was not threatening at all. He was sitting in his car. He requested a supervisor. It's what he did. And he was assaulted in return. Now, when the sheriff was at the press conference, they were talking to him. Sheriff Waters was at the press conference, and one of the reporters there, one of the journalists in the crowd said he made mention of the sucker punch. And do you know what T.K. Waters said? He said, "Oh, there was no sucker punch." And again, now he's lying. This department has a culture of lying. You're expecting us to be comfortable with these people policing us. They're not even honest people. They can't even tell the truth. All the way up the chain. There's a bunch of liars all the way up the chain. As far for sure up all the way to the sheriff. And because there was no charges brought on those guys instantly, we got to assume the DA's in on it. That's a culture of lying. That's a culture of injustice to our people. Do you see that? It's dishonest. How can we trust these people? How can we trust anything they say when they blatantly lie? We see the video, bro. You don't know what a sucker punch is, TK? I'll give you the definition of it. Okay? The definition of a sucker punch is a punch thrown at a recipient unprovoked without warning. That's literally the definition of sucker punch. Unprovoked. Remember, his hands were up. Okay? Unprovoked. And how is he supposed to know this guy's going to swing in the window and punch him in the jaw? That was a sucker punch. The definition of sucker punch. When they took him out the car and there were 2 cops holding his hand and 1 cop punched him in the face again, that's a sucker punch. Your office is full of suckers. Suckers that need backup when somebody doesn't have their headlights on in the day. This is one of the most incompetent police departments we've seen in some time. The level of incompetence goes up the chain. Lying, um, coercive. This is actually like a RICO. What they have going on. That's actually like a should be considered like a RICO charge could be used for them because they're all in cahoots of a crime. Isn't that RICO? When you have one or more persons committing the same crime, the sheriff is condoning that nonsense. That department not only needs to be investigated, Sheriff Waters needs to be removed. At the next election for the Florida sheriffs, they need to remove him. He's incompetent. The only thing he's good at is covering up for bad behavior. That's not police work, bro. That's not police work. First of all, they pulled him over for something that's not a law. That's the first thing. The second thing is they escalated it instead of de-escalating. They made it a lot worse. A lot worse. They made it a lot worse than it had to be. They escalated the situation. You don't need 5 officers for somebody with their headlights out. Why? Why? He asked for a supervisor. Isn't it your policy when a person asks for a supervisor to get him the supervisor? You're supposed to, as far as I understand. This is police brutality recorded over and over and over again. Florida is notorious for it. Ron DeSantis is their governor. If you're looking for accountability as a black person, you might not want to live in Florida because there is none. Trayvon Martin was killed in Florida. We're not going to receive justice there in Florida. Finding justice in Florida, if your case does not go public, you are in real danger. People of Florida, especially Jacksonville, you need to make sure you vote TK Waters out. Do not allow him to be a sheriff there. You might want to get him off the police force because his vision is askew. He has no idea what law enforcement is. What he is doing is just making cops unaccountable for their bad actions. He's making excuses for law breaking, not law enforcement. There's no law that says police get to just punch people whenever they feel like it. And if TK Waters feels that is not a crime, what those officers did, ask them, can somebody walk up and sock the hell out of one of his kids? See how he will respond to that. Since that's not a sucker punch, can one of us just walk up and sock the shit out of one of your kids? Because he has children. I'm sure he wouldn't want nobody to punch his kid like that. He wouldn't like that at all. I'm sure it would be a sucker punch then. If you caught TK Waters and just stole on him one time, that would be a sucker punch for sure if you do it to him. So what he's doing is perpetuating this dual standard of law. Because if a citizen can't steal on somebody like that, why is the cop doing it? If a regular person can't just take off on somebody that way, why is this cop doing it? Supposed to be one law for everybody, right? Explain that. He had an opportunity to explain that, and he failed. He lied. Oh, that's not, don't tell people that's a sucker punch. That's exactly what it was. That's what it was. The Skinfolk Spotlight is shining on you, and I want to let you, everybody should be aware of this, but our majority spirit is not going to keep tolerating this stuff. There's gonna be a reckoning. Our people are waking up. There's gonna be a reckoning for all this injustice being done to our people here. Karma. I'm not gonna say she's a bee like people like to say. She's not a bee. Karma is an agent of consequence. Mother Karma is an agent of consequence. You are going to reap what you sow. Keep on mistreating our people. Keep on. He should know better. But instead of doing the right thing, he wanted to do the white thing. He's defending people. He's protecting people. He's making excuses for his people's bad behavior. That festers a culture of of this unlawfulness. That culture it just festers, and they get worse and worse and worse. He saw that he was recording. They did all that anyways in front of the camera. They so what? Because they know this guy's not gonna do nothing. They know the sheriff ain't gonna do nothing. He don't care about his people. There's a culture of bad policing. I don't even say bad policing. That has nothing to do with police work. I don't have anything against police. There's a lot of great policemen, a lot of great police officers that I know. Not all of them behave this way. But what we can't do is not hold the ones that do behave this way, is not hold them accountable. We cannot do that. This guy, not only should he lose his job, he should not be the sheriff, but all four of those officers, especially the one that punched him, should not be allowed to practice law enforcement. Because what that is, that's gang activity. How all y'all gonna jump on a dude he's already being handcuffed, his hands are already held. Why do you punch somebody whose hands are being held? It takes a special kind of sucker to do that. That cop wasn't all big and bad like that before his people got there. He wasn't swinging on them and acting like that before his other homeboys got there. Before his backup got there, he was not that combative. Then once he seen the rest of his guys show up, now I'm going to punch him. Now that my crew is here and I know they're not going to let him get the best of me, now I'm going to take off on him, you see? That's sucker behavior. Not only is that not official police activity, that's sucker behavior. I don't even hang out with dudes that ain't cops that act like that. You're just going to take off on somebody who's not expecting it. I don't hang out with people like that. I've never associated with people like that. We'll shoot you a fair one. I'll shoot you a fair one, straight up one-on-one, mano-y-mano. Yeah, we can get down. We can throw joints. That's not a problem. But you don't take off on somebody who ain't doing nothing. Why? Why would you do that? And if you're okay with that behavior, just flip it and see if you're still okay with it. Let's say this was a white guy who asked to speak to a supervisor, and a black cop smashed the window and stole on him. Yeah, how does that feel? See how it's different when you flip the roles? See how it feels different when it's somebody else? Don't give us your special treatment. We don't want your special treatment. Don't treat black people different when it comes to the law. There's supposed to be one law for the land. Not cops get to do whatever the hell they want to do, and then you make excuses for them. All that other stuff is rhetorical garbage. All the stuff he said after that is rhetorical. There's no heat of the moment because they're supposed to be trained professionals. So these trained professionals, in the heat of the moment, they just willy-nilly. They just got to start punching and kicking and pulling hair. So you're expecting the untrained public to have more discipline than your trained officers? Is that what you're expecting the public to believe? You hold these people accountable, is what you're supposed to do. You don't let people get away with doing things you wouldn't say is okay to happen to your own children. That's how you're supposed to govern. That's how you're supposed to police. You hold them accountable. Otherwise, what are we doing? What do you guys have badges for? You should just walk around in your colors because you have no honor. There's no respect. That guy wasn't cursing at anybody. He wasn't doing anything disrespectful. He asked to speak to a supervisor. He didn't want to get out of a car because your officers were wrong. They were wrong. Period. They were wrong. Before you get along to anything else, your officer was in the wrong from the beginning. Period. Okay. Officer Sheriff T.K. Waters. A big disappointment for us at this point. A huge disappointment. To all the great cops I know across this land, to all the great police officers we have out there, this guy brings a stain to the badge. His department brings a stain to the badge. The DA, the person who looked at this video and decided there was no wrongdoing. How is that possible? Do you not have a charge in Florida for assault? Described as an offensive touching? Does that law not apply in Florida? Are cops immune from the law in Florida? So they could just willy-nilly just break the law however they feel? Oh, as long as those wrong actions are being applied to black people, it's okay. Is that what you're saying? That must be it, because that's what I keep hearing. Oh, they did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong. Like I said, even if you give them breaking the window because it doesn't go down, you cannot justify them striking that man. You can't justify that. You can't justify them pulling him out the car, holding his arms, and another cop striking him again. You can't justify that. That's not the law. Throwing him to the ground, grabbing him by the hair, striking him as he's going down. None of that is in the police handbook. He wasn't combative. He wasn't fighting them. All right, this is what it is. It's not black or white. It's wrong and right. And in this case, they were wrong, period. They were wrong. The sheriff reviewed the tape and covered up for them. He's wrong. The DA refused to press charges on those cops. They're wrong. They're all wrong, all the way up the chain. That's a culture of corruption is what we're seeing right there play out in plain view. It is what it is. I saw the video. You can see the video. You can look up that statute if you want to verify I am correct. There's a lot of officers I see that are trying to make excuses for this guy. Officer McNally, whatever his name is, he's wrong too, because he keeps talking about increment weather. Increment is not used in the statute for this anywhere. It's not in there. And you can see if I'm lying. I'm either telling you the truth or I'm lying. Go to Florida State Statutes, driving with headlights, under motor vehicles. It is chapter 316, section 217. It specifically goes into when you're supposed to drive with headlights. 1B says during rain, means simultaneously. They have to have their headlights on during rain. Not 10 minutes before, not 10 minutes after. He needs to be driving when? When those cops pulled him over, it was not raining. It doesn't mention anything about incremental weather at all. That's not in there at all. They're making that up. Now, I'm either telling you the truth, but Lord Eric Steele always tells the truth, and this ain't no lie. And if you find me incorrect, bring it to my attention. I will address it, and I will tell you that I'm wrong. But I'm telling you, I verify these things multiple times before I even bring it to you. And I know that's the law. I know it's the law. Okay? My people, pay attention to these spaces. The people in Jacksonville, you need to vote that sheriff out as quickly as you can, because you and your family is in imminent danger. It's no telling what he'll justify. You see how easily he just, there was nothing done wrong. Wow. Yeah, I saw them punch him. I saw them pulling his hair, punching him, chipping his teeth, busting his lip. Oh, nothing's wrong there. If he thinks there's nothing wrong there, what else does he think is no problem happening to you? What else does he think is okay that they do? Pay attention. Do not let this guy stay in office. Vote him out of there as quickly as you can. He should not be the leader of anybody. He has no spine. He cannot stand for justice. He has no idea what justice looks like, obviously. Get him out of office. That will be my suggestion to the people in Jacksonville. Get that guy out of office quickly as you can. All right, this has been episode 10 of the Skinfolk Spotlight. It is shining on TK Waters, the sheriff there who looks like us, but he doesn't have our people's best interests in heart. He is not one of us. He is skinfolk, definitely not kinfolk. All right? Again, FBA all day, Lord Eric Steele. Y'all stay up. 1.